Night had fallen gently over New Eden, wrapping the colony in a blanket of stars that bestowed cosmic splendor. Captain Mara Jensen observed her son, Lucas, laughing as he chased the luminescent fireflies dancing through the cool air. His 10th birthday infused rare warmth into her usually stern features. Suddenly, the sky tore open. Streaks of violent light sliced through the tranquility as alien ships descended like raptors upon their prey. Panic ensued, the ground trembled, and the sweet night air was replaced by the acrid stench of burning structures. Mara's training kicked in instantly. "To the shelters!" she commanded, her voice a clarion call amidst the chaos. As the colonists scrambled, Mara frantically searched for Lucas. She found him stunned, standing in the middle of the playground, his eyes wide with horror as he stared at the sky. "Lucas, run!" Mara sprinted towards him, but a booming explosion sent a shockwave that knocked her off her feet. Debris clouded the air, obscuring her vision. Her ears rang and her body ached, but her mind focused solely on her son. Crawling, Mara reached the spot where she last saw Lucas. Her hands, shaking yet determined, moved frantically through the rubble. Feeling the fabric of his shirt under her fingers made her heart soar and sink simultaneously. Lucas lay motionless, his eyes closed, a peaceful expression masking the tragedy of the moment. Mara cradled him, her military composure shattered by a mother's grief. The fires reflected in her tear-filled eyes, casting shadows across her face as she whispered a promise into the quiet of the night. "They will pay, Lucas. I swear to you, they will pay." As the first ships of the Earth Defense Force appeared overhead, Mara's sorrow turned into a smoldering resolve. Aboard the Vindicator, the mood was somber as the crew prepared to depart. Mara stood before them, her uniform pristine, but her eyes betrayed the sleepless nights spent mourning Lucas. She stepped up to the podium, sweeping her gaze over her new family, the crew. "Friends, comrades," Mara began, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. "Today, we respond to an unspeakable act that has robbed much from us, not just from me, but from every family on New Eden." A hollow screen flickered to life behind her, displaying images of the devastation. "This," she pointed, "is the work of the Viridian Coalition. They believe they can strike us down with impunity. They are mistaken." Mara's fist clenched as she continued. "We are not just defenders of humanity. We are avengers for the fallen. For every innocent life snuffed out, we will exact a heavy toll. Our mission is clear. We will confront this enemy, and we will obliterate their capacity to harm us ever again." Whispers ran through the crowd, a mix of fear and fervor. A young ensign stepped forward, his voice uncertain. "Captain, are we at war then?" Mara met his gaze. "Yes, ensign, we are at war. But we fight not for conquest, but to ensure no other child suffers as my son did." The ship trembled slightly as it navigated through the starlit battlefield of space debris and lingering threats. Mara walked the corridors her steps echoed by nods of grim determination from her crew. In the quiet of her command office, Mara plotted their course towards Viridian territories. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Hargrove, entered, his face etched with concern. "Mara, are we sure about this? Revenge can cloud judgment. We need to be sure." Mara looked up, her eyes as hard as the metals on her chest. "This isn't just about revenge, Hargrove. It's about justice. It's about showing that no one can strike against humanity without facing retribution. I will do everything in my power to protect our people and ensure this never happens again." As the Vindicator sailed through the void, Mara stood at the viewport, watching the stars that seemed so indifferent to human suffering. She whispered to herself, "For Lucas, for all of us, I will end this war." Her reflection in the glass wasn't just a captain of a ship. It was a crusader for a cause forged in the heart of tragedy. As the Vindicator sliced through the vacuum of space toward its first confrontation, Tension aboard the ship was palpable. Captain Mara Jensen observed her crew, each member busily engaged at their stations, their expressions a blend of resolve and apprehension. Mara entered the briefing room where her senior officers had gathered. The walls were lined with screens displaying star maps and enemy fleet positions. "We have intercepted a Viridian scout force ahead," Mara announced, pointing to a cluster of blinking dots near a strategic passageway through an asteroid field. Her navigator, Lieutenant Cara Bell, a known advocate for peace, hesitated before speaking. "Captain, should we consider any form of parley? There might still be a chance for—" "Negotiations?" Mara interjected sharply. "They didn't offer parleys when they attacked New Eden." Her voice softened slightly as she noticed the uncomfortable shift among her officers. "We must be resolute. However, we will not fire without provocation. If they attack, we defend. If they run, we pursue. Is that understood?" "Yes, Captain," came the unified response, although an undertone of unease was unmistakable. The encounter with the scout force came sooner than expected. As the Vindicator and its escorts flanked the asteroids, the Viridian ships emerged, weapons charging. Mara's command was instant: engage defensive maneuvers, target their weapon systems only, minimize casualties. The battle was swift but intense. Mara's strategy to incapacitate rather than destroy paid off, leaving the Viridian ships adrift but largely intact. Yet the victory was bittersweet as reports came in of civilian presence on one of the disabled ships. Mara paced before the main view screen, watching as rescue teams assisted Viridian civilians. Lieutenant Bell approached her cautiously. "Captain, the presence of civilians complicates the narrative of a purely militant threat." Mara nodded grimly. "Yes, Lieutenant, it does, and we'll use this information to our advantage. Let this be a message to all. Humanity does not seek the destruction of innocents. Prepare a broadcast of today's events. Let the galaxy see our restraint and their recklessness." Back on Earth, the political waters were turbulent. News of the encounter with the Viridian scout force and the rescue of alien civilians had reached high command, sparking a fierce debate. Via a secure channel, Mara faced a panel of stern-faced leaders. "Captain Jensen, while your actions have shown commendable restraint, we need to understand the full implications of your engagement with civilian-occupied ships," one of the admirals stated, his tone both inquisitive and accusatory. Mara responded firmly, "Admiral, we are in a state of war, one they initiated, but it is our duty to maintain our humanity. If we lose that, we lose everything." Before the Admiral could reply, an aide handed him a report. His eyes widened slightly as he read. "It appears there's more. New intelligence suggests that the attack on New Eden might have been based on false information. It's possible the Viridians believed they were targeting a military outpost, not a civilian colony." The room fell silent. Mara felt a chill run down her spine. The implications were enormous. Had this war been started under false pretenses? "We need to consider this new information," Mara insisted. "Perhaps there is a path to peace that can still be taken." "Captain, your role is to follow orders, not to make policy," another leader interjected sharply. "Yes, sir. But with respect, my role is also to protect human lives, and that includes preventing unnecessary conflict," Mara retorted. The meeting ended with a directive for Mara to continue her mission, while High Command reviewed the new intelligence. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Back aboard, the Vindicator. Mara shared the developments with her crew. In the mess hall, she addressed a gathering of her people. "This mission continues, but we must all be aware that the landscape might be shifting. We are not mindless soldiers. We are humans, and we must be ready to adapt to new truths." Her executive officer, Lieutenant Hargrove, stayed back as the crew dispersed. "Mara, are we doing the right thing?" he asked, concern etched across his face. Mara sighed deeply, her gaze lost among the stars. "I wish I had an absolute answer, Hargrove. For now, we keep our course, stay alert, and keep questioning. That's the best we can do." As Mara left the mess hall, the weight of leadership lay heavy on her. The strategic wormhole known as the Viridian Passage was a vortex of swirling colors, a gateway between stars that promised swift travel or sudden death, depending on the pilot's skill. Captain Mara Jensen stood on the bridge of the Vindicator, watching as her fleet assembled in a formidable array against the backdrop of the passage. "Report," Mara commanded, her voice echoing slightly in the hushed atmosphere of the bridge. "Fleet in formation, Captain. All ships report ready status. We have the Viridian forces bracketed on the long-range scanners. They're holding position near the wormhole's entrance," replied Commander Tycho, her chief tactical officer. Mara nodded, her eyes fixed on the display. "Options, Commander?" Tycho adjusted the holographic display, highlighting several possible maneuvers. "We can attempt a flanking maneuver using the asteroid field here," he pointed. "Or we could opt for a direct approach, which is riskier, but quicker." Mara considered the options. "Prepare for the flanking maneuver. I want us in and out with minimal engagement. Our goal is to secure the passage, not to get bogged down in a prolonged fight." As the fleet began its cautious advance through the asteroid field, Mara retreated to her private war room. The walls were lined with screens and data feeds, providing a constant stream of information. This was her sanctum, where she could strategize away from the bustling activity of the bridge. Lieutenant Bell entered, her expression tense. "Captain, the crew's ready, but there's concern. They understand the high stakes." Mara looked up, her features set in a determined line. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Keep them focused. Remind them why we're here. We're not just fighting for territory, we're ensuring the safety of every human being back home." "Yes, Captain," Bell acknowledged, then hesitated. "And the Viridians?" Mara's gaze hardened. "If they stand down, we'll treat them with every courtesy owed under the conventions. If not, we do what we must." The operation commenced under the shroud of cosmic dust and debris. Mara's fleet, silent as specters, moved with precision, their paths calculated to minimize detection. The tension was palpable, each ship a piece of a larger, intricate dance choreographed by Mara's unwavering command. Suddenly, an alarm blared. "Contact! Viridian scouts have detected our flank!" Tycho's voice crackled over the comm. "Engage cloaking screens, full power to forward shields. Proceed as planned." Mara's commands were rapid, decisive. The battle erupted as the main body of the Viridian fleet moved to intercept. Mara watched from her station as beams of energy crisscrossed the void, asteroids erupting into dust from stray shots. "Captain, Viridian command ship in range. They're hailing us," Tycho reported amidst the chaos. "On screen," Mara said, stepping forward as the image of a Viridian admiral appeared. "Human vessel. You trespass in Viridian space. Withdraw or be destroyed," the admiral stated, his tone unyielding. Mara's response was cool, measured. "Admiral, we wish no conflict. Withdraw your forces and the passage remains open to all under galactic law." The admiral sneered. "We do not recognize your laws." The transmission ended abruptly, and Mara turned to her crew. "Battle stations. This ends today one way or another." As the Vindicator, and its allies plunged deeper into the fray, Mara remained a pillar of resolve. The battle was not just a clash of ships, but of wills, where the determination of a single human captain was tested against the cold vastness of space and the fury of an alien fleet. Her voice rang out, clear and strong across the comms. "Hold the line, keep them from the passage. We stand for Earth." The Viridian Passage, a gateway wrought from stellar fire and gravitational fury, had become a scene of devastating combat. As the battle raged, Captain Mara Jensen of the Vindicator made a calculated decision that would alter the course of the conflict. With the Viridian fleet gradually yielding under the relentless pressure of human ingenuity and resolve, Mara spotted an opening, a direct path to the Viridian command ship. "Commander Tycho, redirect all available power to the engines and shields." "We're making a run for their flagship," Mara ordered, her voice cutting through the din of battle alerts and status updates. The bridge crew responded with swift precision, the ship lurching forward as it maneuvered through the chaos of exploding ships and lethal debris fields. The command ship loomed large, bristling with weapons now trained on the approaching human vessel, as the Vindicator bore down on the enemy flagship. Mara initiated a hail. "This is Captain Mara Jensen to the Viridian command ship. I propose a ceasefire and parley. We have much to discuss." The Viridian commander, a grizzled veteran named Admiral Vorek, appeared on the screen, skepticism etched across his weathered features. "You speak of peace while your fleet lays waste to mine? Why should I trust your words, human?" Mara met his gaze unflinching. "Because I have your flagship at my mercy, Admiral, and yet here I am, offering you a chance to end this bloodshed." A tense pause followed, the space between words filled with the distant echoes of the ongoing battle. Finally, Admiral Vorek nodded slowly. "I accept your parley, Captain Jensen. But know this, any treachery will be met with annihilation." Mara gave a curt nod. "Understood, Admiral. I'm coming aboard." Escorted by a small contingent of her most trusted officers, Mara boarded the Viridian flagship. The air was thick with distrust, Viridian soldiers eyeing the human delegation with undisguised hostility. In the flagship's war room, Mara and Admiral Vorek sat across from each other, a holographic map of the battlefield between them. "You know this war was a mistake," Mara began, her voice steady. "The attack on New Eden was based on false intelligence. We've both lost too much for a lie." Vorek's eyes hardened. "It was no mistake. We were told your colony was a military installation preparing to strike. We defended our territory." "And who told you that?" Mara pressed, leaning forward. "Consider who benefits from our mutual destruction, Admiral." The conversation shifted, the mood in the room growing contemplative as Mara outlined the possibility of a third party manipulating them into conflict. As the discussion unfolded, it became apparent that both sides had been victims of a deeper conspiracy. "We need a joint investigation," Mara proposed. "An alliance, not just a ceasefire. Together we can uncover the truth and ensure this never happens again." Vorek was silent for a long moment, then finally nodded. "An alliance for now, for the sake of both our peoples." The agreement was fragile, the future uncertain. But as Mara returned to her ship, there was a sense of tentative hope. Yet, the battle was not over. As they disengaged, a distress signal from the edge of the system caught Mara's attention. A civilian convoy was under attack by rogue elements opposed to the ceasefire. Without hesitation, Mara ordered her fleet to assist. "No more innocent lives will be lost today," she declared. The rescue mission was swift and decisive. As the Vindicator and its escorts secured the convoy, Mara watched from the bridge, the weight of her decisions, past and present, pressing down on her. In saving these lives, she saw a glimmer of the peace she fought for, a peace that could only be achieved through the strength and courage to embrace humanity in its fullest, with compassion as strong as its valor. Back on Earth, the atmosphere in the Grand Assembly Hall of the United Earth Space Command was charged with tense anticipation. Captain Mara Jensen stood before a gathering of Earth's most influential leaders and diplomats, her presence commanding despite the weariness etched into her features. "As we stand here today," Mara began, her voice resonant, carrying across the room, "we are at a crossroads. The path behind us is littered with the debris of war. The path ahead offers a chance for peace." She paused, her gaze sweeping over the audience, ensuring every member felt the weight of her words. "Through the bravery of our forces and the cooperation of Viridian Admiral Vorek, we have exposed a conspiracy designed to pit us against each other. This war was engineered, but we have the power to end it, not with more violence, but with unity." Murmurs filled the hall, her words stirring a mix of skepticism and hope among the assembled leaders. Mara continued, We propose an alliance with the Viridian Coalition. Together, we can build a future where no child, human or Viridian, fears the sky. A senior diplomat rose, his tone skeptical. And if the Viridians betray us? Mara met his challenge with a steady gaze. Then we will deal with it as we always have, with strength and resolve. But we must not let fear dictate our path. We must lead with courage, for peace requires the greatest bravery of all. The hall fell silent, the impact of her words settling like a weight. After a moment, applause broke out, not thunderous, but steady and determined, like the resolve Mara had shown.